but I want to get into Charlotte because Charlotte lately has been balling out of their minds right now.
Greetings and salutations, and welcome to the Odd Coaches Podcast, the global authority on coaching leadership, where coaching wisdom meets real talk. I am your host, Dr. Keith Adams, and on today's Wind Up Wednesday edition, we're going to discuss the rise of the Clippers. We're going to talk about the Giannis sweepstakes and what you actually get out of this. The WNBA labor deadline has come and gone, and they've got about 100 days left before their season's supposed to start, and we've got a new broadcaster, Caitlin Clark. We'll talk about her broadcast debut. But with us today, our favorite administrator has joined us, Robert Abney, and our basketball correspondent, the one who got away, Danny Thompson, is here with us. Gentlemen, we have made the switch. This is all professional basketball. Danny, the top six in the Eastern Conference. The Pistons are 1. Knicks are 2. Celtics are 3. Raptors are 4. Cleveland is 5. And the 76ers are 6. Got a couple of things going on with them. In the play-in right now, because we don't care about 7 through 10. We just care who's in it. The Heat, the Magic, the Hawks, and the Bulls, and the teams that are lottery bound. And let's just say it's a good year to be in the lottery. Hornets, Bucks, Nets, Wizards, and Pacers. Hottest teams, Cavs, Pistons, and Hornets. Danny, what are your thoughts on the Eastern Conference this week?
Two things come to mind. One, if Orlando's starting 5 were healthy the entire season after watching them play Toronto a couple nights ago, Orlando would not be sitting in a play-in position. Though that core group, when they play together, Orlando is one of the better teams in the Eastern Conference. Now, with that being said, they are playing well. But I want to get into Charlotte, because Charlotte lately has been balling out of their minds right now. I think LaMelo Ball coming off the bench it's been working out for them right now. And then at the same time, you got Brandon Miller playing like the number 2 pick in the draft after Victor Wembanyama. He's been playing lights out over these past few games for Charlotte. So, yes, they're in lottery mode. They're not looking for a playoff or play-in position right now. But if I'm looking at some teams in the East, you better be careful, because even though they're in that lottery position, they're in tank mode from what it looks like. They can knock some of y'all off and change these playoff seedings as the season goes on.
All right. And we also have a situation with Philly with the suspension of Paul George. Robert, I'm going to ask you from an administrative standpoint. Paul George has been suspended for 25 games for violation of the performance enhancement policy or something with the NBA. So he won't be back until March. When that came across your desk, any reaction, sir?
Well, it's just another example of life with the Sixers, right? I mean, you got Joel Embiid and his knees made out of glass, and then you have just it's always something. It's always something, right? I don't know what the suspension was for. I don't know what he was taking. Don't know what he was doing. I will say this. As an older player, it's not the worst thing in the world for the Sixers for Paul George to have a little vacation, right? Reduce a little wear and tear, get actually healthy, and come back in March in a position where you can play yourself into a little higher seed, maybe. It's not terrible, I guess, but I don't know what it's going to do for the next 25 games for them. So we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, and I am similar to you. If this happens, we're not screaming. We're not hollering. I think losing $11 million as a penance for not playing, that's good enough. We'll still keep you a part of the team. I think we can still do some team-related activities. I don't know if the suspension is from all items. Maybe Danny can peek at that. But, yeah, we're good. Yeah. Don't do that again. Try to read the label, sir. And we're going to keep going. And speaking of keep it going, we're going to go to the Western Conference. Danny, OKC's 1, Spurs 2, Denver's 3. Welcome back to the Joker. Rockets are 4, T-Wolves are 5, Lakers are 6, and they're still shoving them down our throat. In the play-in right now, you've got the Suns, the Warriors, the Blazers, and the Clippers. And in the lottery, if you're to be in the lottery, Memphis, Dallas. Dallas, if Dallas gets in the lottery and they figure out this Kyrie thing, they could be a problem. Utah Kings and the Pelicans. Hottest team right now, Danny, is the Clippers. What's going on in the West, sir?
I don't know if y'all saw Jason Kidd's press conference last night. I mean, we're recording on a Sunday, so when y'all see this would happen on Saturday night. Yeah. So Dallas, if they can get this figured out when Kyrie comes back, Dallas will be a problem in the West. But the thing I want to focus on is the play of New Orleans. And the only reason I'm focusing on the play of New Orleans because they have a tremendous effect on Milwaukee, which we will get into later. New Orleans, depending on how bad they play, there is a pick swap with them and Milwaukee. So, Milwaukee, as much as they don't want to tank, they better find a way to win some games because if they don't, and the way New Orleans is playing, they ain't playing all that great either. But they could luck up and get, depending on where Milwaukee ends up in the lottery, if they get to the lottery before the end of the season, which they probably will, New Orleans can pick swap with Milwaukee and get one of those better players in the top of the draft. So I need to watch New Orleans and Milwaukee for the rest of the season. But as far as the Clippers go, big deal. So what, they're hot. They ain't going nowhere. I don't care.
Well, we're gonna have that conversation. So our story of the week is the quote Kobe shift and the rise of the Clippers. So there's a philosophical pivot going on with the Clippers. Shades of Mamba. So assistant coach Brian Shaw, who I remember his career, played with and coached Kobe Bryant, and he draws a rare parallel between Kawhi Leonard and Kobe Bryant's obsessive work ethic. He cites Bryant's famous 12 three-pointer game in 2003 as the blueprint for Kawhi's recent mindset shift. So, in other words, Kawhi is moving away from his traditional mid-range dominance to try to preserve his body and unlock his offense, and he is shooting more threes. So by trading the grinding out mid-range games to a little less pounding in terms of being a three-point shooter, Kawhi hopefully will maintain health. And with that, the Clippers were 6-21. They were 23 in offense before December 20th. Since then, they've gone 16-3 in their last 19 games. Kawhi has been averaging 32.7 points a game during this stretch, including a double nickel performance against Detroit on December 28th. He's averaging a career-high 7.3 three-pointers attempted, but that number has spiked to nearly 9 three-point attempts since mid-December, and his commitment, and he is hitting at a 43% level. So, Robert, I'm going to come to you first. Got a little Kobe mindset. Got Brian Shaw resetting this. We got Kawhi trying to maintain it by taking less contact. Do you think this is sustainable for the Clippers now that we're watching basketball more frequently?
Speaking of, we mentioned guys made of glass with Joel Embiid. I mean, historically, Kawhi Leonard is another one of those guys. So, I mean, he's staying healthy. I mean, while he's healthy, obviously, the guy, he's always been a great player. He has just never been able to stay healthy. And, it's probably not a bad thing for him, changing his mindset a little bit in terms of being more of a perimeter-oriented scorer when you have James Harden on your squad, right? And, hanging out there, waiting for the ball to come to you. Because I talk all the time about how I'm not a huge James Harden fan because he just stands there and likes to kill the ball, but he is a more than capable passer, and if you're open, he'll find you. So Are the Clippers going to be able to maintain? Probably not, because they're just, other than, I mean, they're not that good, and the West is that good. But it's always interesting to see guys kind of reinvent themselves and adapt as they get older.
Okay. So Danny, you watch more ball than we do, and each for the last couple of weeks, it's been Clippers are chipping from lottery bound to play in to possibly competing for a top 6 spot. And now we're hearing a little bit of the why behind the what. Do you buy it? Should we buy stock in the Clippers?
If they keep playing the way they're playing, you can probably buy into the stock for the Clippers. I'm not saying go all in. I would never say that. But I will say you can start looking into the Clippers rising up in the West, because if you look at where they are in the standings, they're in 10th. So they're looking to eke past Portland, which they can do. Golden State, who, we don't know what they're going to be. We don't know how this Giannis trade is going to look. So I'm not putting anything past Golden State yet. And Phoenix is where they're going to start that jogging for those last 2 spots. If this so-called swap that Kawhi is doing to help preserve his body for the long haul, then I'm okay with it, because as we know, Kawhi's only problem throughout his career is injuries. And I'm not for the changing to shoot more threes when your bread and butter has always been 15 to 17 feet and in. I get it. I know that's how the league is now. There are a lot more threes being shot than there were back when I was growing up in the 90s and watching in the early 2000s. We know this. I just don't think you need to sacrifice your game that much. 12 threes a game, you're already shooting close to 8 threes a game by yourself alone. He can shoot it. Don't get me wrong. I don't know. I just want to see how this goes as the season goes on, because I'm starting to put some stock into the Clippers. I'm not all the way sold on them just yet. It's one of those wait and see moments for the rest of the season, because if James Harden can get Kawhi figured out and talk to him more off the court so they can get how to play together more as the season goes on, then I might say, hey, you might want to look into the Clippers as the season goes on, as it gets later on in the season. But right now, it's still a smokescreen until they start playing more of those upper echelon teams in the league. Now that we know Jokic is back, so Denver's going to be a threat. San Antonio and OKC, we know where they are in the West, but for right now, let's do a wait and see for the Clippers. I want to give it at least another 10 games before I say, hey, put some money into the Clippers in making the playoffs.
This is a no bum conversation. Kawhi is one of the greatest players that's ever done this. But OKC's 1, San Antonio's 2, Denver's 3, Houston's 4. NBA playoffs are a man's playoffs because you have to win 4 out of 7. I'm not seeing them win 4 out of 7 with any of those teams. So we're going to wish the Clippers well. And in segment 2, we're going to talk about the potential trade of Giannis Antetokounmpo. And that's another story that we'll talk about. But will it have any impact? We'll be right back on the Odd Coaches Podcast. Hi, everyone. Dr. Keith Adams here. And for over 30 years, I've dedicated my life to helping student athletes succeed, not just on the fields and the courts, but in the classroom and beyond. And that's why I founded the CKA Save Project. The CKA Save Project understands that finding the balance between academics and athletics is crucial for long-term success. That's why the CKA Save Project offers a range of programs, including personalized consulting, mentorship, and coming in 2027, our innovative Gap Year Basketball Academy designed to assist both young men and women reach their full potential both on and off the court. I'm incredibly excited to announce that the CK Save Project is now partnering with the Cascade Sports Network. This partnership will allow us the opportunity to amplify our message and reach even more student athletes through the Odd Coaches podcast and other exciting initiatives. Join the CKA Save Project and the Cascade Sports Network as we empower the next generation of student athletes. Visit CKA on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org to learn more. Let's work together to find the balance and help unlock your potential. Welcome back to the Odd Coaches Podcast in segment 2. It rarely ends well. We have the Giannis sweepstakes, and I'm just going to get this out of the way. Don't trade him to the offseason. Okay, so now that we've gotten that editorial comment out, let's talk about the breaking point. Milwaukee's bad. They've been bad for quite some time, and they made some moves that, quite frankly, didn't work. And as a result, Giannis is just fit to be tied, and he's currently out for 4 to 6 weeks with his second right calf strain. And my wife, who did her undergrad work with physical training, says calf strains are not good because the Achilles comes next. Mm-hmm. So with that being said, Giannis is eligible for a 4-year, $275 million extension in October. The timing of the trade, if he's traded before the February 5th deadline, his new team retains his full extension rights. The trade happens in the summer. He cannot sign the extension until January, creating a potential financial and security risk for the player. But right now, we're not working for the player. We're working for the team. So next season, he got an expiring contract regardless. And here's some of the teams interested. Golden State, the Sunshine Boys, I think that was the movie. The New York Knicks, the Miami Heat are still looking for a star. And hey, even the Brooklyn Nets may be interested. Danny, you watch this. You're our correspondent. We lean on you. When you hear about Giannis, I've already said, leave it alone. What are you thinking, sir?
As much as I would love for them to leave it alone, they're not going to leave it alone. This ain't going anywhere. If I had to pick a team who could make the best move to go and get Giannis, it would probably be Golden State because of the draft assets that they have. Now, the thing with Golden State is who can they send off in this package? I mean, we were just talking about Jonathan Kuminga last week. So Mike Dunleavy, here you go.
I don't know who else is going, but I know Jonathan Kuminga's going.
But Jonathan Kuminga can go. So they can send off Kuminga and send draft picks because that's one thing Milwaukee is looking for. They're looking for assets at this point. I'm not putting the Knicks into this mix because, yes, can Cat be used in this trade package? Yes. Is it a player that Milwaukee wants? No. Again, because New York has the draft assets, they can move him. It's just the fact that because Milwaukee's going to want somebody like Cat is probably going to be involved. I don't like it, but that's the reality of it. Brooklyn is the wild card, as you stated, because they have so much youth and they have so many assets. Again, 10 first-round picks that they can use in this trade. That is a gold mine from Milwaukee at this point. But the thing is, what are the players can they put inside this package? Can a third team be involved for this trade? So right now, if I had to look at it, I would make Golden State still be the front runners because Kuminga is that dangling piece of yarn that's laying off your shirt that Golden State can use, and they got the assets as far as trade values go for draft picks. And then keep an eye on Brooklyn because Brooklyn can get involved because, again, those 10 first-round picks are what teams salivate over at this time of year, especially with the trade deadline being 4 days away. So keep an eye over the next 4 days, some of the movement, some of the chatter around the league as far as who can start throwing their name into the ring to get this Giannis trade going. Do I think it's going to happen? Probably not. I wouldn't be surprised, though, if somebody like Golden State makes this trade and they go for one last run with Steph to go get this championship.
All right, Robert, you're our administrator. One of the things that I appreciate about you is your ability to make everybody pause and think before making some type of reactionary decision. You're Milwaukee. You're going absolutely nowhere. And this is a very good draft coming up. If you trade now, you don't know where everybody's picks are. But if you wait, you'll have a full view of everything there. But that's not how we lead these days. What are you thinking about Milwaukee and the Giannis possible trade?
Well, I mean, yes, they should wait. Yes, they should wait, because if you wait, you know exactly what pick you are trading for. And with Giannis, and your wife referring to calf strains don't heal. They don't. He will not be right until next season. He won't, because it takes that long to heal, and he gets back on the floor and he's just going to aggravate it again, right? So they're better off waiting. And okay, he's unhappy. Well, then you have a conversation with him and say, hey, we'll get you in the off season, man. That's the best we can do.
We have had teachers be unhappy. We have had people be unhappy in our lives.
Right.
And it's, yeah. You could be mad over there, though.
This is the best I can do for you. When the year's over, we'll reevaluate and see what we can do. For right now, you got to ride it out. And
Now
that is what they should do. Now, will they do that? I mean, you want to talk. Yeah, and here's something else just to think about. Because I totally get why. I mean, the Bucks should trade. Here's why the Bucks should trade him. He's got 12 years of mileage on his tires. When he came into the NBA, he weighed 210 pounds. Dude's a machine now. That's a lot of wear and tear. He's got a lot of wear and tear. He has started to get hurt more frequently as he's gotten older. If you want that salary off your books, wait, trade him in the offseason, start over again.
Yeah, and
now
go ahead, Danny.
Before we move on, this is where I agree with the waiting portion of it. Remember, I mentioned it when we were talking about the hottest teams in the league right now. New Orleans and Milwaukee have a pick swap this year. If I'm Milwaukee, I wait, because I don't know where you are in the lottery. Depending on where you are, you don't have to worry about pick swapping with New Orleans. Because if you are in a worse position than they are, then they won't swap with you. Because if Milwaukee winds up winning, all of a sudden, bam, they're in a much better position. But the thing is, we don't know what the draft lottery is going to look like down the line. Mm-hmm. So Milwaukee needs to wait this out and weigh their options. Again, like Robert said, are they? Probably not. But I think, again, this is something that we need to pay attention to because of the fact of that pick swap this year.
And bonus note, hey, Dallas Mavericks, don't do anything. Hold on to Anthony Davis. Wait for Kyrie to come back. And I don't want Kyrie to play this season. Keep messing around with Cooper Flag, try a little of this, try a little of that. Get a nice lottery pick with there's like 6 studs in this lottery. 6. And I don't care which one I get, I'm going to take that one. And then we're going to ride this thing out. So avoid the knee-jerk reaction of the media, because he who listens to the fans will be one of them. And kind of ride this out, man. Robert, you're in Dallas. Any advice for Dallas before we go to segment 3?
Exactly what you said. Exactly what you said. Get yourself in the lottery, and when it comes time to pick, you pick the best available player.
We don't care.
That's it. It doesn't matter. You pick the best available player, and you get Kyrie back next year, and then you've got something to work with, right?
Yeah. All right. So, fans, in segment 3, we're about 100 days out from the start of the WNBA season, and Caitlin Clark's got a side hustle. We'll talk about it. We'll be right back on the Odd Coaches Podcast.
Today's student athletes face pro-level challenges without pro-level support. The CKA SAVE project is here to change that. For 16 plus years, Dr. Keith Adams and his team have provided comprehensive academic and athletic support from middle school through post-graduation transitions. NIL guidance, transfer portal navigation, academic coaching, career planning, they've got it covered. The CKA SAVE project. When your future is on the line, experience matters. Learn more at www.ckasaveproject.org.
Welcome back to the Odd Coaches Podcast in segment 3, the WNBA labor deadline. So we're about 100 days off. So despite the lack of a CBA, the league released its 2026 schedule on January 21st. It features a 44-game slate and the debut of 2 new franchises, the Toronto Tempo and the return of the Portland Fire. Logistically, however, once the deal is signed, the league must execute a 2-team expansion draft and unprecedented free agents, because we've got a lot of people who are free agents and you have to do it in about a 12-week window. The league has reportedly not responded to the union's December proposal, which reportedly asked for a 30% share of gross revenue and a $10.5 million salary cap. So the fight is between net versus gross. The league's most recent offer suggests players receive 70% of net revenue, which is profit after expenses like charter flights and facilities. And the union is pushing for a model based on gross revenue, arguing that the league's growth, fueled by stars like Caitlin Clark and Paige Beckers, justifies a fundamental shift in how wealth, air quote, is calculated. Since January 12th, the league has been under a moratorium, halting all qualifying offers and franchise tag designations. You also have the fact that the Toronto Tempo is the first WNBA team outside of the U.S., and they're supposed to debut May 8th against the Washington Mystics. And the Portland Fire is brought back from an original 2000 to 2002 franchise, making their home debut May 9th against Chicago. And feel free to do some research on the Chicago Fire. They're not very good right now, and management is fighting over stuff too. Oh, and you still got to deal with the expansion draft and then your regular draft. So, Danny, I'm going to come to you because you're our paralegal, and you have checked out all kinds of stuff with the WNBA. What are your thoughts, my friend?
I think the league and the union need to come to a sit that if this so-called face-to-face meeting that's supposed to happen soon is any sign, if they can come to a deal at that point, you might as well go and say just lock the season out, because it's going to be hard to try to get all that stuff done in such a short time span. Again, Portland Fire, Toronto Tempo both need to do expansion drafts. You still got a free agency period that has to be done. You still have your actual WNBA draft that needs to be done. Training camp needs to be done. And they got to do all of that within a short time frame. That is going to be a lot to get done. And as much as I want to go off of the messaging that between the players and the league through the gaze of reading media articles and that nature, I think there needs to be a switch. And unless we hear it straight from the horse's mouth through press conferences, that we can actually listen and see the clip of what the league and the players are saying, I'm not putting too much stock into messaging that we see from newspaper articles, because right now, this whole thing that they're fighting over is pretty much just on revenue. It's revenue sharing. That's it. The players want 30% of gross. The league wants to give them 70% after expenses are done. Do we know what those numbers are, as we said over the past couple of weeks? Heck no, we don't know. And we'll never know, because they're never going to release these numbers. But it's something that they need to get figured out, and they need to get it figured out fast, because, again, the league starts in less than 3 months. Get this done. This is supposed to be your 30th season. This is a prime number. This is a big number for them. They need to build on the momentum that they've had. You have Paige Beckers and Caitlin Clark playing each other this year, because Caitlin Clark will be healthy this season.
You hope.
You hope. I hope. With the draft coming in, there are too many good players in the draft this year that are coming out. You have to get this figured out. It's a must to get this figured out, especially this revenue sharing portion. If they don't, well, you kiss this 30th season goodbye, because they're going to be in a lockout, and we're going to have to wait for next year, and then we're going to wait. And then they're going to try to get 3 expansion drafts done, because the 3rd expansion team comes out next year. So Get this done.
All right. So, Robert, 2 years ago, we sat on the air shortly after the women's NCAA tournament, and you very calmly said they're not ready to deal with what's coming up, because they've got a golden goose and they've never had any attention paid to them. And now that the attention's coming, you anticipated that the WNBA was going to get this wrong, and you said it very calmly with a cup of coffee. 2 years later, we're sitting here fighting over money that may or may not be there. And you've got expansion, you've got all of these things going on. Any thoughts, sir, as we've got about 12 weeks and we ain't thought about training camps or nothing like that. What are you thinking, man?
Well, first of all, I'll say that even a broken clock is right twice a day. So there's that, right? We have been, I think it would be an understatement to say that we have been critical of WNBA management over the past couple of years. And I can't imagine that they have plans in place to address all of the things that need to happen, as we progress, if they manage to come to some kind of agreement. I can't imagine they've got all of that laid out, that they're ready to go, that as soon as, you've got ink on paper, all right, here's when the expansion draft is. Here's when free agency begins. Here's when we do this. Here's when the draft is. I don't think they've got, here's when training camp starts. I don't think they have any of that ready. I can almost guarantee it. And as a result, I mean, it's you don't want to postpone the start of the season, but I don't know what else they're going to do. And it's especially and the worst part of it is this. Right now, they're not even trying to talk. You mean to tell me you can't figure out how to say, hey, how about let's start with this. Let's start with this revenue number. Maybe 25% gross revenue. How do you feel about that? Maybe 75% net revenue. How do you feel about that? Okay. And then salary cap. Okay. Maybe not 10.5 million. Maybe how about we go 8 million? I mean, they're not even having conversations. So I mean, I would love to be able to I would love to be able to say, oh, they've got it figured out, they've got a plan, they'll be okay, but they're gonna mess it up. They're gonna mess it up, and you're gonna wind up in a situation where you have all of this momentum because the league has gotten 2 transformational players in the past 2 years, and
More coming.
and you ain't ready.
Yeah. Robert, I want to pick your brain on this piece. So for those who are not in the school system, we are now in second semester. And second semester is when you start to plan for the following school year. So you're living now, but you're not doing anything. The teachers and everybody else, they're riding the machine. But if you're an administrator, you're planning for the next thing, whether it's open salaries or open positions or different things like that. And that's what I think Robert is trying to inform our audience of is there's been no anticipatory skills in terms of, hey, wait, this Caitlin Clark kid's going to be pretty good for us. Let's adjust the schedule. Let's do different things to try to maximize these opportunities. And now we're in a position where you're going to get a Juju Watkins coming in. You're going to get an AZ Fudd coming in. You're going to get a younger brand of player who is already coming in with a built-in following and a built-in audience. And then on the player side, some of the old heads, bless their hearts, are not understanding their self-worth in the marketplace. So yes, Unrivaled had a great debut in Philly as a one-off. Now they're going to go back to Miami, and let's see how the ratings and everything goes. So Robert, with your experience in the planning process of the next season, any follow-up to that before we talk about Caitlin Clark's side there?
Well, no, I mean, you're right. I mean, in a school year, for example, it's, as we tape this, it's February 1st. Our pre-registration for next year, as in the classes the kids are going to take, we're done. It's already done. We've already done that because we have to start figuring out, okay, we need another English teacher. Well, we have a bunch of kids who want to take this elective. Who's going to teach it? You know, we don't have to teach New Mexico history anymore. So the guy who's been teaching New Mexico history, what's he going to teach? All of that stuff is stuff that you figure out now, and you plan all of that out now, and you have contingency plans because people leave, people get new jobs, stuff happens. You do all of that now. And as I said, the WNBA has not covered itself in glory in the past in how they have planned for their future, which is why we are where we are. And I can't imagine they've done the things they need to do to, once there's ink on paper, get stuff done and put themselves in a position to be successful.
Yeah. All right. So Caitlin Clark has a new broadcasting deal here. So Caitlin Clark is joining Basketball Night in America twice this season. Once as we tape, and then she's going to join again in March 29th for a Knicks Thunder game. So after an injury-riddled 2025 season where she was just limited to like 13 games due to groin and quad strains, she returned to the court in December 2025 as a part of the U.S. basketball senior national team, which she should have been a part of anyway. Caitlin Clark's broadcast debut comes as the WNBA and the WNBA PA remains at a standstill, and she recently called the CBA talks the biggest moment in league history, emphasizing that there has to be compromise to avoid a work stoppage. Despite her injury absence, Clark's gravity, or gravitas, as I like to say, remains massive. Her jersey launch and her all-star captaincy in 2025 kept the center of the sports culture and conversation on women's basketball. So this marks NBC's first NBA broadcast in over 20 years, and launching with Clark is a big deal. Danny, this is an opportunity. But again, it may be hijacked with talks of labor negotiations as opposed to celebrating the league's 30th anniversary. What do you think about the Caitlin effect and how it can influence negotiations moving forward?
I think it would behoove the league to pay attention to Caitlin Clark's appearances in these NBC broadcasts of the NBA, because now and at the same time it hurts them as well, because now you're going to have fans of the league saying, "Oh man, who is this? Who's this bright young player with some knowledge, with the knowledge of the game that she has? Oh man, we got to watch her play. When do they play? Oh no, ain't got no CBA yet." So you're putting the spotlight on your players, but you're also putting the spotlight on yourself for the fact that you have not gotten this deal done. It brings in more transparency to fans wondering why they have not gotten this figured out yet. It puts more eyes on the league as to why you were not prepared to get this done yet. Because now there are more eyes on a player that has the magnitude of Caitlin Clark, you gotta milk this while you can. So if they don't, again, we're going to spend more time talking about the fact that they're locked out instead of talking about the fact that this is your 30th anniversary. This is your 30th season. If you don't get that done, her being on NBC for this NBA broadcast will be a waste. So they have to move on this now. It's like, again, we're recording this is February 1st. The season is supposed to start in May. If again, I said this before, get this figured out. Ride this wave of momentum that you have with Caitlin Clark being on these NBA broadcasts. You're going to have to take some tough criticism with it, because all the questions are going to be with her about the lockout and about this note having no CBA yet. So you better be prepared, because those questions are going to come in waves now, because Caitlin Clark is going to be more visible to more eyes, and they're going to wonder, when are we going to see this girl play?
So, Robert, as I come to you, I've seen her State Farm commercials, and in the group chat, several of our colleagues on the show have mentioned that she's not the best promo, as we like to say in wrestling. How do you think she's going to do on national TV, being the figurehead for the players? What do you think about Caitlin being on NBC?
I mean, first of all, the looking at the NBC studio group, she ain't gonna be any worse than any of them. I'll tell you that. I not a fan personally, maybe just me, but not a fan. I don't think there's any question that she knows basketball and can talk and can speak intelligently about it. The question is going to be what is her personality going to be? How's it going to come off? And the answer is nobody knows. And I would suspect that as she gets more comfortable, as she matures, all of this will get better for her. But I mean, that has to be a concern. That has to be a concern. How is she going to come off? And the other thing is this, it's going to be interesting to see if it does NBC own any WNBA TV rights? Because if they do, it sure would behoove them to have Maria Taylor ask Caitlin about these labor negotiations. If they don't, I mean, from a news and information perspective, it still would make sense for them to do that, but I don't know if they will. I'm interested to see how she performs for sure, but also, do they talk about that at all?
To answer your question, they do. So for this season through 2036, they will be broadcasting 50 WNBA games over an 11-year period. It's part of that $2.2 billion deal with Disney and Amazon. So yes, the NBC will be showing some WNBA games when this season starts.
There you have it. Seems like it would be in NBC's best interest to perhaps exert a tad bit of leverage.
Yeah. So, Danny, I want to ask you before we close. You've watched the Amazon Studio show. I have not. I've heard nothing but good things about the Amazon Studio show. I was a fan of the Inside the NBA TV show. Now that it's on, twice every 6 weeks, it's just hard for me to get traction because we're doing a lot of other things. And I will check out the NBC telecast. I've seen it a little bit, the little game of the week that's been going on. Kalen strikes me as a little bit of a Bob Backlund kind of promo for a dated wrestling reference. Super knowledgeable, but man, would you entertain me? Any thoughts about which show you prefer since you've seen them all as we close this week's episode?
Well, to date myself, you gave her Bob Backlund. I gave her Bret Hart because Bret Hart wasn't that great on the mic and entertaining as well either. So that does not help. So I don't know how.
I'm rooting for it. I'm going to say I'm rooting for her. I hope she does a good job.
Yeah, I want her to succeed in this because this is a big deal for her. Now, as far as the 3 studio shows go, we know where we see when it comes to Inside the NBA. They have been the gold standard forever, right? Right now, if I had to put a pecking order, it's that Amazon show. It's Inside the NBA. And then way down in the pecking order is that NBC studio. That NBC studio show. I'm not a fan because what helps the Amazon show is Blake Griffin is entertaining. He is along with the stories that they have, you bring in a guy like Udonis Haslem on there as well. That's entertainment and basketball knowledge to go along with it. You're bringing in other guys. You brought in a John Wall for a couple of episodes. So right now, I'm looking at that Amazon Prime Studio show, and I'm like, this is gold. This gets me ready for the game that's about to come on. NBC show, I don't even turn it on anymore. I just wait for the game to come on and be like, all right, good, the game's on. I can live with this. Inside the NBA, I mean, we know what that is. We know what we're getting with Inside the NBA. But right now, I'm sold on that Amazon Prime show because I can't wait for the next one to come on just so I can see what they're talking about because the stories you get, the knowledge you get from those guys is pivotal for say, casual fans who are just now tuning into this. So not only do you get the entertainment value, you get the knowledge to go along with it. That's big. That's big for fans who are just coming to watch the game and they want to know what's going on. So, yeah, I would prefer the Amazon Studio show over the other two, mainly because Inside the NBA, you're right. We only get that twice a week. And with NBC, look, I love Vince Carter and Trace McGrady and Melo as players. They were spectacular. As studio analysts, my God, vanilla as vanilla ice cream can be. Okay. And right. I hate saying that.
It's all right. That is fair. So, on behalf of our Cavalcade of Stars, I'm Dr. Keith Adams saying thank you for joining the Odd Coaches Podcast, the global authority on coaching leadership. Also seen on the Cascade Sports Network. You can follow Odd Coaches on the X platform at Odd Coaches. And for more information about the CKA Save Project or to make a donation to support our work, visit us on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org. And we will see you on the sidelines. Until next time, take care.
We hope you enjoyed today's show. The Odd Coaches Podcast drops new episodes every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Make sure you subscribe to the Odd Coaches Podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Follow the Odd Coaches Podcast on the X platform at Odd Coaches. Follow Dr. Keith Adams and the CKA Save Project on social media at CKA Save Project. For more information about the CKA Save Project, visit them on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org. See you next time on the Odd Coaches Podcast.